It started with an Instagram post, a glowing photo, a heartfelt caption, a story of survival against all odds. Belle Gibson wasn't just another wellness influencer, she was a miracle. Or at least, that's what she wanted the world to believe. She claimed she had defied terminal brain cancer, rejecting chemotherapy in favor of a holistic lifestyle, clean eating, and alternative therapies. Her journey, as she told it, was nothing short of inspiring. But it was also a lie. Gibson's carefully curated online persona quickly gained traction. With her striking looks, heartfelt storytelling, and unwavering confidence, she positioned herself as the ultimate proof that alternative medicine could triumph where conventional treatment failed. In 2013, she launched the Whole Pantry app, promising recipes and wellness tips inspired by her so-called battle. It quickly became a phenomenon, amassing 200,000 downloads in its first month and earning Apple's Best Food and Drink App Award. A year later, she secured a book deal with Penguin, and Apple announced plans to pre-install the Whole Pantry on the Apple Watch, an endorsement that positioned her as a global wellness guru. At her peak, Gibson was celebrated as a beacon of hope, a living testament to the power of alternative medicine. But behind the polished Instagram posts and heartfelt captions, there was no miraculous recovery, because there had never been a diagnosis at all. Born on October 8, 1991, in Launceston, Tasmania, Annabelle Natalie Gibson's backstory was as fabricated as her medical condition. She painted a picture of a difficult childhood, leaving home at 12, caring for a sick mother and an autistic brother, struggling to survive. But her family would later call this narrative a lot of rubbish. Her mother, Natalie Dalbello, outright denied Gibson's claims, stating that Belle had never taken care of anyone and had barely done a minute's housework in her life. Her brother, who she claimed was autistic, was not. The inconsistencies in her past were just the beginning. Gibson's story of illness evolved over time. She initially claimed to have suffered a stroke at 20, then a terminal brain tumor, then multiple cancers that had spread throughout her body. She maintained that she had been given just 4 months to live. Yet she never named her doctors, never provided medical records, and her symptoms seemed to change depending on the audience. When questioned, she claimed her diagnosis had been given to her by Dr. Phil, a supposed medical professional with no last name, who later mysteriously disappeared. With her influence expanding, Gibson leaned further into her self-made persona. She claimed that 25% of her business profits were being donated to charity, boasting contributions of over $300,000 to cancer research, children's hospitals, and maternal health initiatives. But when journalists began digging, the cracks started to show. In February 2015, Gibson's close friend Chanel McAuliffe confronted her with suspicions about her cancer claims and about perpetrating a scam. She urged Gibson to come forward with the truth, but Gibson refused. Then, in March 2015, an explosive investigation by The Age revealed that Gibson's charitable donations were largely fictitious. Of the $300,000 she claimed to have given away, only an estimated $7,000 had actually been donated, $1,000 of which had only been transferred after Gibson realized she was being investigated. Another $1,000 had been given under her partner Clive Rothwell's name, rather than her own. Several charities she had promised money to had never received a cent. As scrutiny mounted, even Gibson's closest friends turned against her. Some staged an intervention at her Elwood apartment, pressing her for proof of her diagnosis. When confronted, Gibson's explanations unraveled. She admitted her diagnosis was questionable, one friend revealed. When pressed on specifics, she faltered, unable to recall key details, contradicting her previous statements and ultimately failing to provide any concrete evidence that she had ever been sick at all. Around the same time, the parents of a young child with brain cancer, whom Gibson had befriended, came forward to report that they had been unaware Gibson had claimed to be fundraising for their child's treatment. The family had never received any funds from her or the whole pantry, and suspected she had used their experiences to fabricate details of her own supposed illness. The backlash was swift and unforgiving. Her book was pulled from shelves. Apple severed ties. Social media turned against her. And when she finally sat down for a tell-all interview with the Australian Women's Weekly, instead of redemption, she delivered an admission. None of it's true. But the damage had already been done. The people who had trusted her, many of whom were struggling with real illnesses, felt betrayed. Some cancer patients had followed her advice, opting for unproven alternative treatments instead of medical care. Others had donated money, believing they were contributing to a noble cause, only to realize they had been deceived. The financial and emotional toll of Gibson's deception extended far beyond her own personal downfall. Legal consequences followed. In May 2016, Consumer Affairs Victoria launched legal proceedings against Gibson for misleading consumers. By March 2017, the Federal Court of Australia ruled against her, finding that she had no reasonable basis to believe she had cancer. She was fined $410,000 for deceptive conduct, a penalty she consistently failed to pay. Between 2017 and 2019, Gibson spent over $90,000 on luxury goods, rent, and travel, while claiming she was too broke to cover her fines. Her home was raided twice, once in 2020 and again in 2021, in an effort to recover unpaid debts, which had ballooned to over $500,000. Even as authorities pursued legal action against her, Gibson made bizarre attempts at reinvention. In 2019, she resurfaced claiming she had been adopted into the Ethiopian Oromo community, referring to Ethiopia as her home. The Oromo Association swiftly denied her claims, publicly stating she was not and had never been part of their community. Meanwhile, her longtime partner, Clive Rothwell, who had financially supported her throughout the scandal, finally severed ties in 2023. Despite the legal consequences, Gibson's case highlights the disturbing reality of social media fraud. She exploited the trust of thousands, leveraging Instagram aesthetics and emotional storytelling to sell a narrative that was entirely false. Her ability to gain widespread support, despite glaring inconsistencies in her story, demonstrates the dangerous power of unchecked influencers. Belle Gibson's story is a modern-day parable, a cautionary tale for the digital age. It's a reminder that in a world where anyone can create a persona and build a following, we must remain vigilant, question boldly, demand evidence, and hold influencers accountable. While the internet offers remarkable opportunities for connection and inspiration, it also enables a new breed of fraud, one that exploits our willingness to believe in hope without verifying its source. Gibson's tale, spun from a web of deception, wasn't just about an extraordinary recovery, it was about the power of a well-crafted lie. Her narrative reminds us that unverified claims, no matter how emotionally compelling, can have dangerous consequences. As we continue to engage with the endless stories online, let Gibson's example serve not as a call for blind optimism, but as a practical prompt to scrutinize what we see. In a digital landscape awash with information, a measured skepticism is our most reliable safeguard.